Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third day of the conference. It looks like everyone's surviving and doing well. My name's William. I work here at the University of Kent with Gowrie, and I'll be the chair for this panel. We have an hour and a half, aiming to finish at 11:15. Yes, I meant that. At 11:15 in time for coffee outside. We have three speakers who are going to speak for 20 minutes each, consecutively, and then have question time for 15-20 minutes at the end. So that's all the thing. And just one little point just to raise, in case anyone is a bit disappointed with the weather, please don't be. We have been in a 2-month drought. We've scarcely had a drop of water, but literally since the end of February. And this rain is absolutely welcome. So I've been thanking the gods this morning, even though I got wet, but I particularly loved that. So I just wanted to put that one out there as well. For those of you online, it's been raining heavily this morning for the first time in a long time. So let us get cracking. It's now 20 past. Our first speaker this morning is Tiraji Western Donwai, who is a researcher from Northeast Thailand, who is currently investigating the educational and environmental impacts in Northeast Thailand of the mining and the construction industry. And Tiraji, you're going to be operating your own slides, so I will sit down and leave you to it. Over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jirajet Visedanwai, and I'm from Thailand. And first, I have to say sorry about my cracking voice because I got cold. In Thailand now, last week, they are like a first rain of the season. So like a lot of people get sick, including me. And welcome to my presentations. The title is Phaya Khanka Quest for Water Security, a fable against the Mekong Dam construction crisis. And okay, my key questions of this research have two questions. The first one is, how can Phaya Khanka be read as ecological and political resistant? And question number two is, what inside this tale offer the fight against Mekong Dam construction? Khanka in Thai and Lao language is mean a toast or a frogs. In Southeast Asia, it's very common that people in the rural area, they will hear the frog or the throat singing before the rain come. So like the sound of these animals, it just feel like the raining gonna come, the rain gonna give them life, and they will start doing their agriculture after that. And the story began along Mekong River. The Mekong River are around 400 kilometers long, and people around 60 million people depend on this river. So like the origin of Mekong River is in Tibet, and the Mekong River travel along the southern China, Vietnam, Thai, and Cambodia and Laos. This story, the original of this story have been told in the community in South China. It's called Chuang Ethical People. The oldest evidence of this story appear in the rock painting in the Sujianghan rock art cultural landscape, and you can see that they have like people who point their hand and their legs. It look like a frogs. And right now they still have like the ceremony as annual ceremonies. But in the Juang community, they have a tale in different name. It's called Ma Guai Festival. You can see the flag. They're painting the frogs and their ancient painting on the flag. This tradition ceremony holds to worship a third goddess. They will, when the early of the rain season, the villager gonna find the first frog that sing. So like they keep the frog and then parade and worship the frogs. They have a song that they gonna sing along when they parade. Uh, the song that they sing, I translate from Chinese to English. Grandma Frog wished you sprouts home. May the clouds surf above your house. May the rain fall on your fields. May the night ears of rice bloom in a single stalk, and the 100 grain per ear. May cotton plants bear silver flowers. May tree bear sweet fruit. May chicken turn into golden swans. May buffaloes grow dragon horns. May disease be dispelled by the wind. May the whole home be happy. May the woman be like a flower. May the elderly live longer. This is the song that they will sing while they parade. And the story about the worship the trout or the frogs, they have different name, but in lower Mekong rich area, they have the share story that named Paya Khankak. The key part is about they have long ago the world or the area of the setting of the story worldly draws, and then the trust gathering all the animals, especially the insects, and then parade and come together to negotiate or fight with god of the rains. And then the ending are different from the area, and I think it's very interesting because in the area that close to China, like Vietnam, the end of the story about like a diplomat or the something that they just negotiate. But the lower Mekong, like Cambodia or Thailand, they also like create the war between Thoth and the god of the rain. And the one thing that I noticed about the how about the area of this story that have been told and the area about dam construction along Mekong regions, they are very close together. The first dam that construct on Mekong River is in Yunnan, is in the southern China, and this place, this area is the place of Zhuang people that they live in. And then a lot of dam right now, they have a complete dam around 14 dam along the Mekong, and they have 11 more planned to construct the dam. And right now, the effect of the dam caused a dry and a drought in dry season. They have some plant and some fish that already the villager and the fishermen in Thai and Laos, they say that they didn't see a fish that normally come and a plant that normally grow in dry season anymore. And more than that is cause political conflicts between each country like Thai and Laos. They China's plan to invest to construct them in Laos, and then the some environmental activists or some villagers in Thailand, they have a conflict by people with people. More than that, the Chinese, the China's and U.S. They're trying to control the the river by planning the infrastructure about the dam or hydraulic power. So like this is the current issue that in Mekong River, they have a lot of movement of activists in Laos and Cambodia and Thai. But we don't have a chance to unite and solidarity together. I starting to tell this story to my friend in Laos, and they say like the connection between our shared story about this fable. You can see that from natural voice from frogs, and then it come to cultural voice by parades to worships of frogs and toads. This kind of parades or this kind of event, they uh, in Vietnam and Cambodia, in Laos and Thai, they have like a parade to worship the toad or frogs in the early rain seasons. And then right now, it's come to political voice. In China, they call Mekong River as a name Lan Xiang's River. But actually it's the same river, and we have like a story that people share story to tell. And in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand, they, as I say earlier, that they have like a different ending, and it depends on how far that story come. The motif and symbol that I researched there, I separate into uh, four motifs. The first one is the toast. Interpretation, the toad is a common people or local community in lower Mekong area. And the rain or sky god is like centralized powers, the imply or like institutional entities. And the rain, people in the ancient time, the rain is something that's very sacred and very holy things to create life, create communities. So like land is just something that's really so powerful from people in ancient time. Even in nowadays, water is something that's very important for us. And the journey to sky in the Paya Khankhak story is about political resistance, is about diplomacy or advocates to uh, each country that share river are working to about water security together. And when we compare the each version of the story from each country, you will see that the resolution from each country is depend on how far the story gone. Like the first one that's very uh, upper area, the resolution is villager they drumming, so like the rain return and dry season are gone. And then lower from Yunnan or Chuang people community is Vietnam. The Vietnam is the solution or the end of story is very interesting, because when the toads are come to the sky, they negotiate, and the god of the rain declare toads as an uncle or relative of God. So like they share water and make rain come to the land. And the more interesting is when the story come to Cambodia or Laos and Thailand, the resolution of this story is about to make a war. Like the toads, uh, they are gathering the insects and the poison animal like scorpio or the other poisonous animal, and to fight with the army of the god of the rains, and then the toad win. And we can see that the lower people, the lower area of the river are more conflict than upper river. So like this story can portray us about the tensions between the lower country and upper country that share river together. And retelling Paya Khankhak is not just like the cultural perception of the this tale. Is a political act, way of asserting local sovereignty over water narrative, that when the dam constructions, the policy with the dam collection is will come with like the water security, but the meaning of water security is about include everyone to manage water together. It's like the story that told in the Paya Khanka quest for water, that is every insects, every animals that uh, parade into the heaven or the sky. They're trying to negotiate. They're trying to fight to have a power, a sharing power to manage a water together. And they have they have like gimmick or the detail in the story in Laos and Thailand, that the end of the story is the god of the rain. They want to know like how or when that uh they have to give the rain to the world. And then the toad and the other insects say that we will choose a rocket to you. Like, and in Isan or in Northeast Thailand, they have a festival called Rocket Festival, that they will DIY the rocket by the uh, organics material, and then put it into the sky. It's very famous festival here, and it's happened uh, around this period of the time. And then they have like some issue in Mekong committee, that uh, China have a lot of information about tidal of water, but they didn't have like a share information. This detail of the story can give people to think again about water security and about water sharing when they building the dam, that in water that we share. This is a photo of students their protest about the dam, to against the dam. You can see their face are painting with the brown color. They're trying to make their face look like a toad. So like they are talking to communicate or uh, negotiate with the some one who have a power. So like they can uh, negotiate and talking about water security and how they can involve to uh, to talk and to manage their river together. Uh, yeah, this is my research about the uh, Paya Khanka story. And my next step, I planning to make like a educational tool across the country, and trying to include the artists and the teacher or educator from uh, lower country or upper country of Mekong regions, to trying to make some educational tool to help youth or even adult to learning about. We have like a shared story that our ancestor already told uh, us since we was very young. And right now, if we can learn something from that, we can use it as our practice or our solutions to manage and cope with the Mekong dam construction crisis in this area. And before that, um, the tale of the Paya Khanka, they have very famous in Yasothon. And they also have like a project to uh, conservation tour to make them like have a have the locations to conserve them, and trying to set the area them area of the truth or area of the fog to keep them live in the forest area. So like this story is not about the human uh but it's about the all animals that live along the Mekong, that we have to thrive together and we have to protect each other, even it fish or bird or even our little child that gonna go in the future and use this liver. And I'm trying to push this agenda and trying to ask and seek for corporations. So like we can protect our river and give it to them in the future with like abundance river that we have been got from our ancestor. Yeah, that's all for me today.
Hello, I don't know if you can hear me, but you are muted, Uncle. We can't hear a thing.
My apologies to all of you online. I muted during the last presentation and I foolishly forgot to unmute. So I have just introduced Senjo, who is our next speaker, and thanked our previous speaker. So my apologies for those of you online who wouldn't have heard me introduce, but we'll move swiftly back into Senjo. He hasn't yet started. He's just beginning now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Susan. Yeah, to your savior. Let me see. Here we go.
And yes, you'll have to make sure that they can see your slides.
Can you see my slide?
No.
No?
Right. You'll have to.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. Have to share.
Yes, share.
Okay.
This one?
This one. Thank you. Great. Yep. All right. So thank you for waiting. I'm Senjo. I'm a communication scholars from Tokyo. And then as the William just explained that then I'm very much interested in tactical communication. So I just to give you some of the brief explorations on what I'm really interested. The tactical communication is the basically something like a rumors and gossip, and then perhaps maybe the folklore as well, which can be developed and then deployed by the ordinary people, grassroots people, with the very limited amount of resources and the knowledge, formal knowledge, in order to cope with the some of the difficult situations like natural disaster or even political crisis as well. So my focus particularly on the case of Thailand and Japan. But today I'd like to share with you the Japanese episode of natural disaster related folklore. Okay, so let me share. So right, so I'm talking about the story of a mythical serpent that offered us very useful perspective into human and then animal relation during the times of environmental instabilities that we are experiencing right now. The knowledge embedded in the traditions challenge a conventional modernist approach to the disaster management. So the traditional Japanese cosmology used to foster the worldview where agencies extended well beyond human beings. So the boundary between the humans and the nature are much more fluid in the previous era. So in this system, we human once the needed to negotiate our place alongside with the other non-human entities. So which create very unique foundation for the interspecies relationships. So today, as long as time allow, I'll show you the very fascinating the fables and the related the folklore that I collected about 10 years ago in the Kiso Valley, which is located the central part of Japan. So now, okay. So I'm going to use this kind of online map to show the some of the example. Okay. And then before actually introducing the exact the episode of folklore and fables, so let me give you the some of the context of my presentation today. So let me explain the human-animal relations, right, in traditional Japanese cosmology. So the renowned ethnologist Shinobu Origuchi documented that the interconnectedness between human and then natures that define the traditional Japanese cultural understanding. Okay, so according to him, the Japanese arts and then culture in general reflect the cosmology where the animal and even non-animate objects possess tama, right? Or the spiritual agency that animate their existence. So this worldview dissolved rigid boundary between human and the non-human worlds, which suggest interchangeabilities where the being can transition between different state of existence. So like, for example, as you can see here, varieties of animal can serve as the mediators bridging human society with the natural and then spiritual world. So the one of the example here is I took these photos in Kyoto, Fushimi Shrine. And so the Fushimi Shrines has the animal deities of fox, actually the carrying the ears of rice. Okay, so if the human beings actually make the wishes, the fox deity is actually running between human world and then spiritual world. Okay, and then another example here is the cenotaphs of shrimps, which you can find at the Tsukiji Fish Market in Tokyo. So as you can see that the Japanese people still practice actually the try to memorize the sacrifice of the animal in this way. And another example, this is the Ugashin, the half human, half serpent god. And then this is typically associated with the water and then arts. And of course, you can find many places, one of which is the Ueno Park in Tokyo as well. Okay. So as you can see that we have a very unique relationship between the human beings and the nature. Okay. So in this worldview, this worldview is the animals and then all the nature is not necessarily the passive resources to be controlled by human beings, consumed by the human beings, but considers as the partners in the shared spiritualized ecosystem, okay? Which requires sense of respect and then also humility. So as we face increasing climate fluctuation today, this cosmological perspective might become relevant, and because it's recognized the limits of human controls and then promote a more harmonious relationship with the new non-human entities. So today I'm going to introduce the serpent fable from the Kiso Valley, which serve as the another powerful reminders of environmental knowledge, which always is situated with the very specific local cultural context, and also the illuminate the patterns of relationship with the modern human world. Okay. So let's move on to okay, right. So now let's explore the locations and natural environment of Kiso Valley that make this region susceptible to the natural disaster. As you can see, this is the Kiso Valley. Very beautiful region, actually. It's located in the southwestern part of Nagano Prefectures, leading up to the northern part of Gifu Prefecture. Okay, and surrounded by the very high mountains, some of which is more than 3,000 meters high. And then, as you can see, that the valley is very narrow, with some sections just a few hundred meters wide. So the Kiso River flows through this narrow corridor, and which is bordered by the very steep slope of granite, weathered granite. So these areas, heavy rainfall and then seismic activities make it prone to very dangerous landslide and debris flows that repeatedly, destroy this region. Okay. So let you see some of the image. And this is the town of Nagiso. As you can see, a huge boulders in the riverbed. Okay. So perhaps if you take a look at these pictures, you think that those boulder is tiny, but actually it's few meter wide. It's really, really giant boulders. So imagine that such a huge boulders basically tumbling down the slope along with the waters and then mixed with some fallen trees. So this is the scene that the areas very with high elevations, and as you can see that this is the granite, actually the slope of granite, but it's very much weathered, so it's easily crumbling down into the river system, and as you can see, this is the natural dam. So as those granite eroded, and it's basically they give away lots the rocks and then sand and then deposit. You can see that. And when we have heavy rainfalls and then earthquakes, I mean, this natural dam could collapse and then releasing the deposit downstreams, as you can see it like this. Those boulders in the tree is huge, and then basically those the released deposit, they become a debris flow and then destroy the life and then properties in downstreams. Okay. Right. So of course, the scientist has I give you the scientific explanations of sediment disasters, landslide, and then debris flow. But the local people, they have a different cultural understanding. Still, they, to some extent, pay attention to this local knowledge. Okay. So the local people, hold and they used to hold very strongly the mystical serpent, which dwelled in lakes and ponds and the water systems. And then when these serpents try to moving out, so they will create the storms and then trigger natural disasters, flash flood, debris flows, and then destroying the human life and then property, in its path. So because this natural disaster resemble the passing of giant snakes, so local people call Januket. Ja means a snake, Nuket means a passing. So I saw the CCTV footage the other day. That actually it looks like snakes, the giant snakes falling the trees, twisting turns and then descending from the high mountains. It's really scary. Okay. So the of course, the local people in the valley has developed very rich cultures of serpent-related folklore, over the generations. So I'm going to give you this example of Januke as the folk understanding of natural hazard, and which explain the causes and the consequences of natural disasters. And of course, as I said, that the scientific views of debris flows and then sediment-related disasters, are different, very different from the, the cultural views of natural disasters. But, these cultural beliefs, actually, a lot of the local communities, pay more attention to their surroundings and then try to catch very subtle, tiny signs of debris flows and then natural disasters. So this way, they have been surviving this very hostile natural environment without the much help of the government and then also the the private investment. Right. So let's go to the actual example of local fable, which called the kajika. It's a type of freshwater bullhead or mirror-sun, right? It's a type of the fish. It's a very funny looking fish, actually. And then serpent fable, right? So as you can see, this is the Kiso Komagatake Mountains, around 3,000 meter high. And then when spring comes, actually, you will see this snow patch, which resemble, the giant snakes with the mouth open and then try to attack something. So, the local people actually believe the serpent deities actually living on this mountain, right? And then the story goes, so the one day, this serpent deity was challenged by the freshwater fish, the kajika, the kajika is living on the other side of, the Kiso Valley. And the kajika said that you may be powerful, but you cannot reach me. And then the serpent deity was angered, actually. So calling for the storms and then, releasing itself from the one of the pond located on this mountain. And then rushing down the slope of the mountain, destroying everything its way. But eventually, this serpent failed to catch this fish. So the local people believes there is the huge boulders located, across the Kiso River here, and it's called Kajika Rock, the bluehead boulder. Okay, so local people, they believe that this boulder was actually, created by this, the mythical event of the fight between the serpent and then Kajika. But we never know. But the local people believe, in that way. And then also the local people tell me that actually there is a very rocky landscape expanding around these areas. The local people called it goro. Goro means onomatopic, that word for a lucky price. So local people believe that it was created about this, the fight between the serpent and then the fish. Okay. Right. So these tales actually the create another associated folklores. Nearby place, or you can find these huge boulders, sitting next to the Lord, and it's called the Nanahiro-ish, which means like 7 fathom log. Okay, and then the local people said that go. Right. Yep. They called it the story of a snake wife. Okay. We earlier mentioned the master serpent, on the Mount Komangatake. So this story actually have a branching out to the different the folk tales of the local woman who's married this mystical serpent deities. So across the Japan, we can find a lot similar tales which call the Hebinyobo genre, snake wife genre. And then this particular local, the legend. 5 minutes, okay. All right. All right. This story basically centers on the young woman called the Ono, the servant who is working at the local inn and then famous for her very delicious soup. And then, her colleagues become suspicious because the Ono, disappears nightly. So they follow her and they discover that she was meeting the serpent living in the distant pond. So the further investigations of her kitchen, it's revealed that the snake skin and then bones. So apparently, her secret ingredient of her soup, it's coming from this snake skin and then bone. So upon learning her relationship with the snakes, she was dismissed from her work and then almost overwhelmed with the grief and then throw herself into the pond and then disappear. So there are many variations of this story in this place. Some locals say that you will hear the sound of weaving from the local pond before the heavy rain starts. So the local people actually pay attention to the changes in the climate and the weathers so that they can prepare for the possible occurrence of natural disasters. So I'm going to skip some of the examples, and then if you're interested, I'm going to upload the more complete versions of those episodes. Okay, still we carry the son of the name associated with the serpent god and the natural disasters. Like for example, this place is called Janukezawa, serpent passing creek, or Okuzurezawa, giant collapse creeks. So, but the local people know what happened in the past, huge disaster taking place just like this. So they give the name to this local place and then avoid building their houses. But nowadays, the people feel, perhaps overconfident in their capacity to control the natures. And then, some newcomers, they start building houses and the businesses in this very dangerous place. And then what happened is the 2014, another debris flows struck this place. which is very close to this Januke Java River as well. So let me just conclude. Okay. So my mentors, the professors, the historians, and Shoji Sasamoto, and pointed out the serpent lore in the Kiso Valley at once function as a practical knowledge systems. So these traditions help the community to recognize early warning signs of natural disasters, and then help them to develop sustainable relations with the predictable valley environment. But unfortunately, this type of animistic worldview has declined, and then traditional human-nature relationship has also lost. So the modern Japanese has largely dismissed this type of a traditional knowledge, okay, as unscientific, outdated, and then become overconfident, their ability to control the natures, consume the natures. Nowadays, about the disaster preventions heavily depend on modern warning science systems and also infrastructures like river works, sediment control dams, using very limited amount of data and resources. So typically designed for rainfall events that might occur once every 10 years or so. Okay, so the given rapidly changing climate patterns in recent years, if such a measures, the modernist measure prove adequate, is a questionable, to say the least. So I think this, the fable from the Kiso Valleys give some sort of like implications, the alternative model to reconsider the relationship between the human beings and then the environment. Okay. Thank you so much.
Well,
I just put this sound.
thank you very much, Senjo.
Let's share. It's okay.
Okay,
It's
okay.
because I share the screen. The channel.
I'm getting quite a lot of noise from the online people. I might be Debanjali. You're just getting prepared. That's absolutely fine. Well, thank you, Senjo. Thank you for our second speaker. Again, excellent timekeeping. And we are moving now to our third and final speaker, Debanjali Biswas, who is a cultural anthropologist working at the moment at Bodleian Libraries at the University of Oxford, whose primary area of research is in northeast India. And again, Debanjali, you are going to be controlling your own presentation. So let me just, I need to get rid of that. And what was the way of getting rid of that? Sorry, Carrie, what was the way of getting rid of the side panel here? Can you remember? What was the way of getting rid of that side? You did it so perfectly just earlier. You got rid of that side panel so perfectly. I can't remember how to do it.
I think the way to do is to ping her.
Ah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. Debanjali, the floor is yours. So over to you. If you just
Thank you.
Yes.
Before I begin, may I quickly check with you if my share screen is visible?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your presentation perfectly. So all is good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, William. And thank you, everyone, all the participants and organizers of the symposium. I'll dive right into the paper. So the paper is framed around the premise of cultivating, nourishing, and sharing fables that not only connects the past and the present, but also speculates a future with modest, radical hope. The paper situates itself amidst multi-species aesthetics, raising eco-critical questions on entangled lives of human and non-human through multimodal elements, most specifically for this presentation, a performance and films. By connecting the politics concerning general and generational shifts in multi-species cohabitations, the paper narrates the fables that are at center of predicting environmental collapse and man-made damage. Additionally, the paper speculates if aqueous ways of thinking would lead to rewriting or at least shifting policymakers' decisions on how water worlds can be protected. I discuss what binds these narratives together. In Robin Kimmerer's words, I intend to make a braid of stories that stands for the braid of the floral, faunal, and mammal lives, but also reconnects our relationship with the world. Kimmerer actively promotes the capacities of stories to offer resistance against the dominant and sometimes oppressive knowledge systems of the world. Through the multimodal elements I refer, I briefly touch upon linguistic, visual, gestural, spatial, and oral attention to indigenous history, communities, cultures, languages, and social practices that may be inhabiting marginalized spaces, yet, despite their marginality, the latter have also become places of resistance and hope from regional, civic, and non-state perspectives. So, for today's presentation on water fables, I have 4 characters: a lake, some flora, some fauna, a community, and an invisible 5th character whom I will reveal later. Through an eco-critical approach, I narrate the vitality of human-non-human interconnectivity, the richness of aquatic and botanical resources, and the threats to them. So Loktak is a lake situated in the state of Manipur. It is in the district of Moirang, and it is the largest freshwater lake in the northeast region of India. The lake has within itself the only floating national park in the world called Kebul Lamjau, and a natural floating village of at least 500 scattered huts called Champu Khongpok. The lake not only provides water, food, shelter to the littoral community, which contains hundreds of fisher families living in the peripheral shores, but also shelters many species of fish, aquatic plants, endangered mammals, migratory birds. It provides sources of livelihood for thousands of people, also indirectly dependent on the sources. It plays an important role in making the Manipur Valley fertile. The lake is also revered as a spiritual home. The goddess of the lake is often remembered through songs, dances, and ritual. The lake plays a central role in many legends, myths, and even historical events that provides insights into the happenings of the ancient, medieval, colonial, as well as post-colonial Manipur. So Loktak, the lake, is known for numerous floating ponds, which you see on the side panel. It is a composition of biomass of vegetation, soil, and organic matter. The fisher folk, they build their houses on top of them, mostly for the purpose of fishing from the top of the biomass. In autumn, the fisher folk usually look for the best places to collect all the biomass and construct the little hut called a pumshang. Pum, which is not squelchy, is selected and the mass is then cut according to the required size. It is then bound together with strong threads and therefore gives these round shapes. And this floating biomass is also the Kebul Lamjau National Park. It is the floating home of the antlered Sangai deer, which is also one of the characters of the lake area and today's presentation, whom you can see at the bottom, the little deer. So in the legends and fables of Meitei community, who are the dominant community of Moira, this species of deer is considered a venerated creature. In the animal fables, the Sangai is understood as a bridge between the human soul and nature. A chance encounter of Sangai is considered spiritually invigorating. It invokes the enchanted worlds beyond human perception. Much like the Panchatantra fables, the interwoven series of prose and poetry in Sanskrit and Pali from ancient India, the interwoven series of Sangai is also in the pursuit of moral good and security. And the legends of Sangai, it's said, also protects the Sangai itself. So according to some of the legendary tales, such as the Moirang Kanglei role, One of the more known dramatic and poignant story is that of a hunter and a royal blacksmith called Kadeng, who it's a tale of lost love, a tragedy. Kadeng captures a Sangai for his beloved, and then when he doesn't get her, releases the deer into the wild. So mythologically, releasing that deer in the wild then led to the replenishing of the deer population in that area. There is another legend where the prince of a Luang clan, who is one of the 7 clans of the region, he could shape shift into a majestic deer. So on the head, he would wear a crown, and then the crown would grow as antlers. So these are some of the mythological connections with the deer. But in reality, the presence of the Sangai deer also signals a thriving ecosystem. And they're also called the dancing deer because it's very difficult to walk on these overgrown biomass. So they almost tiptoe, and that gives the visual of the deer dancing. Now, the Sangai was thought to be hunted to extinction during the colonial period. But in around 1971, 1972, which is after the British left Manipur, there were a lot of locals who were reporting sightings of the deer as well. So in that very year, the local government passed the Wildlife Protection Act in 1972. In the same year, a very well-known cultural activist, also a member of the royal family, Maharaj Kumari Binodini Devi, wrote a poignant essay on the Sangai and the floating wetlands, encouraging the local people to manage and execute conservation strategies to protect the nature and its riches. M.K. Binodini's essay, which itself is an eco-critical approach to introduce social realities of the nature to the locals, to readers, and also to an extended audience, that then becomes the basis of a dance production by the local dance company called the JNMDA. And their production itself was titled Sangai the Dancing Deer or Keibul Lamjao. So the dance production on which the film is based makes a series of environmental issues and crises of the water world through tangible visual matter, especially for non-specialists who did not know what Sangai is. The production is told from the point of view of all the animals who are living alongside the deer, including some of the species of hornbill who was once in abundance, but now they're completely extinct. So in the 1920s, the hornbills were still around. So this becomes like one of those traces of memory pieces where you have that animal when the production was created, but it's no longer there. Now, this original choreography, it brings environmentalism of the script to life, but it also created a lot of environmental awareness in Manipur, and they made Sangai sort of cultural heritage of the land. The choreographers and the dancers, they gesturally create an anthropomorphic interpretive frame to lend all the featured animals representation and agency. The script follows a herd of deer who are struggling against hunters, but also thriving amongst other animals and the fisher folk from different communities who live at the periphery of their habitat. The script also dedicates a few moments to hornbills and tigers, as I mentioned, the tiger at the back right now who's walking towards the deer. Both those creatures have now been hunted to extinction. So Sangai then becomes a reminder of the dual violence, a violence towards the legends of the lake, which is symbolic of through their ancient cosmologies, but also a violence which led to fragile ecology. Now, to further an understanding of matters of entanglement of Loktak ethnographies, I also once again refer to what Kimmerer says, a lived reciprocity. She acknowledged that she yearns to understand the architecture of relationships. And this I'm going to explore through 2 interconnected films, both were made on the lake. In the early 2000s, the vegetation of Keibul Lamjao was critically threatened as the construction of an Ithai barrage, a dam, which was constructed downstream. Therefore, it disturbed the natural cycle of the biomass collection. So in the dry months of February and March, the water in the area allows the Phundi to replenish themselves by anchoring to the riverbed. And that was not happening. In the monsoon downpours, the lake had to be refilled again, but the barrage was stopping from doing that. And the Phundi was replenishing in wrong places. So the barrage had to be checked multiple times. The natural cycle was disrupted. This is the time when a lot of the species were threatened. So the forest department had to be petitioned over and over so that they could save the meadows and the water area. So they launched an locally sort of homegrown plan, indigenous plan to revive the Humdi by pinning it down and constructing wooden shafts to the lake bed so they wouldn't float away with the dam water. On the other hand, this is the dual role of how governmental agencies work as a protector as well as a destroyer. On the other hand, in 2011, the Lake Development Authority, called the Loktak Development Authority, under governmental orders, they burnt down more than 200 huts. They evacuated the people under the pretext of lake protection. They just wanted to depopulate the area as much as they could. So, and that practice happens very arbitrarily over the years. It has happened multiple times. And since there is no notification of what happens as of the authority intervention, so the fisher folk now, they don't make permanent houses. It's impermanent in one way anyway, because it's built on the whim of the natural biomass, but they cover their roof with more biodegradable materials, or which can be taken down faster, especially when without them feeling dispossessed. They can just pack up the things and leave rather than full-on demolition. So Kimmerer, who says that the life of these kind of indigenous communities survive on gift economy. She says we all live, breathe, eat enough through the systems of reciprocity. So when I see these stories and we see ecological films with ecological changes, we see the violence also that is put on the human-non-human interconnectivity. The violence is also reciprocal in nature. The nature will fight back. So Kimmerer's writing look at traumas of the ongoing climate change, massive violence on the lives and livelihoods of the indigenous people, and the slow violence of the industrial pollution that fills entire water systems with toxic sludge. If the Phumdi is not controlled, if the biomass is not reconstructed every year, what happens is it just turns into sludge, which then with the barrage constructing developmental system then becomes toxic for those who are living around the area. But this is also not to anthropologist Dolly Kikon, who works in Manipur's neighborhood state, Nagaland, who emphasizes that since the colonial period, the British and then Indian state have cultivated an extractive economy in its entirety of the Northeast region. Oil, coal, timber, tea, they're just examples how consciously resources are extracted via legal provisions, and they then take over land and its resources. And this is one thing I need to mention is certain places in Northeast India have very strict surveillance or very strict state control. So because of the presence of military forces and then anti-military insurgent forces, it turns into a violent landscape very fast. So the continuous exchanges of people, trading network, collaboration, locals believe that this means that the lake people, the lake's animals, they always have a heavy price to pay for being employed by some of these services. So I began the presentation with 4 characters: the lake, the flora, the fauna, and the littoral community. The 5th character is the often invisible character, which is not present in water fables, but it's always present, and the most tangible is the character called development. So in these 2 films that you see on the screen at the moment, it comes in the shape of an amphibious dredger, which you see on your right. It's a dredger which digs through the lake, and the locals call it, in capital letters, the machine. With each scoop, it breaks down the alluvium, the wild grasses of the biomass, and even the huts in which the people reside, and it causes havoc to the floral bed and the fishes who live in the lake. So this is also reminiscent of the entangled ecological and political violence, just something that the choreography of Sangai had warned us. So the documentary, both of them looked at Lairembi and Phumsha. They closely observed the precarious lives led by the lake's fishing community and the resistance they mount against the state and central government as well as the army. As I said, the place can turn dissident because the people are moving continuously through different kinds of precarity. Much of these films are concerned about the detailed account of the community's everyday life. They move literally through plastic waste, through the toxic sludge, while catching a fish in the lake, selling the fishing in the local market. But it also, in one way, captures the cosmological belief in the entanglement of nature and culture in material practices, but also with the presence of the security forces, the destruction of the cosmological belief because they are hurting the lake and the people who live around the lake. So in both these films, we observe how land here is far from being solid. It heightens a sense of contingency or vulnerability amplified by developmental projects and climate change, but how this precarious land is inhabited by people and animals who experience this instability as a consequence of state-controlled violence. They face the threat of dislocation and dispossession. So the films map the dual violence towards the Meitei communities, fisher people, and the fragile ecology. And with these films, we not only witness a documentation of this violence, but also see how certain vulnerable geologies, such as the biomass, they open up other ways of inhabiting a fragile, damaged place through act of suturing land masses. So in my conclusion, aside the precarity of human, non-human lives that the performing or the visual mediums have managed to convey to a greater number of audience. The tales of the land that I briefly mentioned in my abstract, but can't dwell on due to the paucity of time, they are basically the old indigenous ways of transmitting knowledge and stories. The films and the choreography take it a step beyond. The Phumdis and the alluvium are fluid and mobile forms of land. They are mutative, they are drifting, they are terra infirma. They ask us to imagine new articulations on time and the geological understanding of memory and belonging as well. They unsettle our habitual terrestrial form of politics and indulge in aqueous ways of thinking. The film from 1987 and the two other short clips that you see from the other films of Habam Pabam Kumar, they span about 3 decades of time, but they are augmenting a sense of marginal, liminal, or peripheral lakeside life, as well as belonging and subjectivity at the fringes of the Indian state. They speak from a land itself in a peripheral and liminal condition. This land is not stable and firm, as I said, it's precarious and drifting. But we also see how certain ecological characters who have once been popularized through fables also are vulnerable characters, but they open up inhabiting a fragile, damaged place, but keep the fables of literal life in Manipur alive. Thank you.